those people. Okay. This is my buddy Steve. I'm Peter. So glad to be with you guys. So who plays keyboard or piano in this room? Yeah, all right. That was sort of a dumb question. What are you hoping to get out of this time together? Why did you come? Why did you wander into this class instead of some other class? You could have so many great options this hour. What are you kind of looking for here? Just call it out, and we'll try and make this as helpful.
On standard recording.
Okay, so voicings, maybe you're interested in that. Okay, yeah.
Learning to work in the band. I'm used to just playing piano for everybody, everything, and learning how to blend and be more.
Yeah, part of the group. Who else? Raise your hand if that's you too. Oh yeah, I want to learn how to play in the band. I'm kind of piano, and I want to learn how to play the band. Okay, raise your hand if you're like, yeah, chord voicings and other sort of deeper, cooler stuff. Okay. Raise. What's that?
The software.
A little bit about software. Okay, some of the options that are out there for making sounds and stuff. Cool. All right, we'll talk about that. Who else is interested in that? The technology, tech side. Okay. Cool. What else? What else are we kind of
going beyond just acoustic guitar and piano?
So exploring other tones besides a piano.
Yes.
Actual piano or piano sound with along with acoustic. Okay, great. So a little bit of arranging. Anybody else interested in that? Is that okay? All right, cool. All right, we'll try and cover anything else that any other burning thing that you haven't heard somebody say yet that you just want to say? Yeah, go.
I'm the opposite. I learned how to play by ear, and I don't know what a 2-5-1 progression is. I don't know how to identify that progression much. Kind of like I do what I do.
Okay. Do you know the names of notes?
I know the notes, yeah. But I've never read chord or anything like that. Kind of self-taught.
Oh, cool. Okay, so you're looking maybe for a little bit of theory. A little bit maybe. Okay. Anybody else in that situation? Okay. And you were going to say something?
Accompanying a singer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, not to get away in the melody.
Okay.
How to support rather than.
How to support and accompany a singer. Yeah. Who else? Who else is interested in that one right there? Okay. How many of you? I find that, those of us that are piano and keyboard players, we tend to come from sort of one group or the other group. How many of you come from I learned how to read music and maybe learn some classical, or I read sheet music. How many come from kind of that end of the pool? Anybody on that end? Okay, and then the other end is the kind of more by ear, chords sort of approach, improvisational. How many are that? Okay, so that's the majority. And then, okay, cool. That'll help me kind of structure. All right, so we'll dive in. Again, my name is Peter Neumann, and this is my wife Katie, and our sons Ryan is 4, and Andrew is 2, and just a massive eater. He eats more than I do. Like he's just constantly hungry, and he's like in the 100-something percentile for his size. He's a very tall, large kid. Okay, so as we think about piano or keyboard applications, it's gonna if you think of all the piano playing or keyboard playing you can do in the world, it's going to fall into kind of one of 3 areas. Performance is a tiny area, where you're going to perform a piece where the piano or keyboard is the instrument that everyone's listening to, and it's maybe a recital or something. That's a very thin sliver, right? Mostly in church, and you might do something in church you play, people listen to, but mostly we're going to be doing accompaniment, right? Mostly. And then keyboard is also awesome for production, behind the scenes, recording stuff. Anybody interested in that side of it, the sort of recording, arranging the computer sort of workstation stuff? A few. Okay, because you can create all kinds of great music on computers now, and that's the production side of it. So we'll kind of focus mostly in this big middle part. All right. We're gonna. I want us to approach it from this following filter. Okay. I think we can get to most everything that we talked about through this filter today. These are the 4 building blocks. It's true for any instrument, and it's especially true for keyboard and piano. At any moment, you're going to make choices in these 4 areas. At the beginning of a song, throughout the song, at the end, all the different moments, you're going to make these 4 choices. Some kind of a dynamic choice, volume, intensity. Is it a big moment? Is it a quiet moment? Rhythm, certain kinds of rhythms that you'll play. There's differences. Some are real whole note, long, sustained kind of rhythms, right? And others are more punchy, rhythmic. Register, where are we playing? We're playing high, we're playing middle, we're playing low. And then tone. Tone, of course, that's the reason the keyboard is the most versatile of all. We can rule the world from a keyboard, right? Because there's so many different tones. We can pretty much do almost everything. I think it's tough to replicate electric guitar, but you pretty much don't need anybody else in the band. You can pretty much program it yourself. Kind of need that electric player though. But tones, there's just a million tones. So the kind of way that we'll talk today is moment, whatever moment in the song, and then a transition, and then a new moment. And the key word here, the operative word, this is so very important, is this word distinct. Distinct. We're going to talk about distinction. That's what's going to help us accompany singers. That's what's going to help us do cool chord changes. That's what's going to help us through all the things we talked about today, is creating distinction from one moment in the song to the next moment, to the next moment, all the way through to take people on kind of a musical journey. And really what we do with dynamics, register, etc., is going to support a particular kind of moment. And that's what that moment is going to be. And then we're going to do something else in the next moment. And we really want to have a variety of what's happening. I think I have some graphics to show you. Yeah, all right. So if you think of, like, this is like dynamics, for instance, okay? Each moment is different, and you want to do something different in each of these moments. Maybe bring it way down, maybe bring it home, you know, for the last chorus or whatever. And you want to create sort of an arrangement through the song where there's difference in intensity. And what I find a lot of people do is just kind of keep it in the middle. You know, if these are, you know, the Italian markings for volume, pianissimo, fortissimo, really loud. A lot of us, we just kind of stay in the sort of vanilla middle, you know? And that's kind of that's typically sort of an entry level or a novice thing to do too. Just stay real, just mezzo forte, mezzo piano, medium, never really get too loud, never really get too soft, never get too intense. And we want to expand that dynamic range. Okay, this first thing we're talking about is dynamics. We want to expand that, and there's so much we can do on keyboard to really have the big moments be big and have the little quieter moments be quiet. And there's tone choices that go into that. There's all kinds of things that go into that we'll talk about today. But you really, and we want to create arrangements, and they don't all have to look a certain way. You could, you know, they could build all the way into the song. They could grow in the middle of the song and then kind of gradually come down. There's a lot of, you know, options for how we could make a song look. But the point is that we want to pick our loud spot and pick our soft spot, pick our tones. We want to make intentional choices, right? So, all right. I think I mixed this up on your outline. Is rhythm or register first on your outline? Rhythm, okay. Well, we're going to talk about register and come back to rhythm. Okay, the 100% rule. Who's heard of the 100% rule? A few of us have heard. I don't know, maybe you've heard it. If you are the only one playing, somebody said that. I play. It's just I'm 100% of the sound, and somebody else is singing. If it's just you, you're 100% of the sound. As soon as you add somebody else, it could be a guitar player, it could be a singer. So the way you play is going to change to accommodate and to accompany, to support, to play well with others, you know. And the more people you add, the more that you take into account what those other people are doing. And here's the good news for those of us that are interested in like playing with the band well, playing well with the others in the band. Our slice of responsibility shrinks down to a very, very manageable portion. And we don't have to handle quite so much. We can like really own our spot and make it great. And we don't have to worry about what all these other people do. We don't have to do as much rhythm because the drummer is going to handle that. We don't have to worry so much about both hands. Left hand bass player is going to handle that a lot. And so we actually want to kind of stay out of his or her way and so on and so forth. And so it's kind of nice when you can own your space. So you want to pay attention to that. Sonically, the way you own your space and kind of stay out of other people's way and play well with others, this is just a quick little technical thing we'll get into, but audio waves, what we hear is measured in hertz. Hertz are, you know, the audio waves that happen in cycles per second. So down at the low end, human hearing, we can pick up, you know, 40, 50 hertz, the real thump, boom, boom, you know, in subwoofers or that gangsta driving down your street, you know, that's the low end, way down here. Middle is where voices and, you know, keyboards and a lot of things are. And, you know, think like on your car stereo, right? You have low, mid, high. And if you were to turn this, you know, the sonic spectrum on its side, instruments live in certain ranges going from low to high. So the kick drum, the low part of the kick drum, and the bass, they're going to be down low, right? And there's a sort of a tap portion of the kick drum where the beater head hits the actual drum, and you actually want to articulate that. And that's a little higher in this low end. It sounds funny if you actually pull that out, and all you hear is from the kick drum. Mids, there's a ton in the mids, and this is where the battle is going to be won or lost on keyboard, because we have a big, wide area that we can dominate. With great power comes great responsibility, and we want to make sure that we're not thundering away on our low end when the bass player is also occupying that spot, and we start competing and encroaching on the bass player's territory. And same thing up high. There's all kinds of sizzly high stuff that can happen, hi-hats, tambourines. There's voices in the middle. After a while, the more people you add, it's like, okay, where can I fit and not compete with somebody else? And sound guys really have a lot to do as well with bringing out what's happening with the different instruments and the voices. So we want to pay attention to the sonic spectrum and play well with others. That's a lot about the register that we play in. Are we playing high? Are we playing medium or low in comparison to the other instruments? So in the service just now, I was listening constantly for Paris, the bass player, and he would, you may have noticed, or not, but I often didn't play my left hand. Like it was the Worship Jesus hand, you know, and woo! And I just had like a right hand thing going. But then Paris would stop, and then I'm like, okay, now it's my turn to be the bass player, to really fill the, you know, we did the, you know, the choruses where everybody just sings, you know, and he's not playing, nobody else is playing, and it's like, you know, here we are with the big pad that'll fill the room, and the voices sing, right? So I was constantly listening for him and then pulling out, you know, when he would come in and I go, now it's Worship Jesus again, you know? And so that's a good thing to do, to pay attention to the register where you are playing on the instrument. Register also will help create a moment. It sounds very, very different to, you know, this sort of a sound is a different feeling than, right? I mean, that was almost similar notes, but just the register change, and you have a different feeling, right? So register is something to watch out for. All right. Register also, in the inversions of chords, can make a difference. We're going to get into some specific inversions that will allow you to not like jump all around. Like that's what you can kind of. There's ways you can hang in a spot for a minute and do all four of those chords that are in that progression And then you can lift up and go to a whole nother spot and kind of stay there without having to bop, 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 bop around in the sort of root inversions of all the chords. So we'll look at that in a minute. Okay, and then, yeah, tone. All right, so now we're getting into tone. How many play keyboard? Do you have a keyboard, or you're interested in playing keyboard at your church? Okay, great. So here, to me, are the 4 biggies. You can have a bunch of others. You can have hundreds of other tones. What I find is the keyboards that you buy have hundreds or thousands of tones, and they're mostly crap. And there's like a handful of good ones. And each manufacturer has certain things that they're really good at. And so, you know, Korg, I was playing a Korg this morning, they are really, really good at like thick string, ethereal pad kinds of sounds. Korg, nobody else can touch that. Roland, Yamaha does okay, but Korg owns that spot. Yamaha pianos, they're like, you're gonna play piano on a keyboard, and it's gonna be a sound that is within the box that you purchased. We're gonna talk about virtual instruments in a minute, but you know, the manufacturers want to sell you on the tones that are in their box and have all these bells and whistles. And so many of their sounds are just useless. And I find that within almost any keyboard, there are less than 10 sounds that I use a lot. And hundreds that, you know, they're like, entertain my kid because it has a or something that goes along with it. But it's useless for actual music. These are the 4 biggies. You gotta have some kind of a piano or electric piano, you know, kind of a tone. Strings of some kind, a string sort of section, not one violin, but you know, a big string, full string section. I played that a ton this morning, just strings. The B3 type organ, which we kind of sound checked, you know, with that sort of gospel thing. And whether you're doing gospel or rock and roll, it's great. You know, so gospel is great for that, but it's also. That might be the first 2 chords. Literally, what I just did might be G and C in like forever or whatever. I mean, you just hang there, and it occupies a spot. By itself, it sounds silly, but within the mix, it is really great. So a Hammond B3 type organ sound. Listen to all organ sounds. There'll be 20 on your keyboard, and there'll be 2 good ones. You know, find the 1 or 2 good ones. And then an ethereal sort of pad type sound, of which there are many options, but you know, those 4 for worship. If you have those 4 and no others, you'll be golden. Of course, you can add a bunch of other stuff. Hey, it'll do a flute, you know. But when are you going to really use it? These are the ones you're going to use a lot. Okay, we'll transition a little bit to theory. In all of music, worship music particularly, if the outer edge of this line represents all music that there is in the world, the majority of it, and particularly the majority in worship music, is going to be chords that are based on the first note, the primary, the root note of whatever key we're talking about. The chord that's built off of the first note. So throw out a key that we want to talk about. Any key.
D.
D, I heard. So in the key of D, 1, the first note is D, and the chord that you build off of that would be D, F sharp, A. So that's your D chord. So in the key of D, in every key, the chord built off of the first tone, the 4th tone, the 5th tone, the 6th tone, it happens to be minor. If you use all the notes that are in that major scale, that happens to turn out to be a minor chord and then 2 minor. These right here are going to be what you just do all the time. Raise your hand if you're with me. Tracking with me on that. Okay, good. I didn't lose you. All right. So let's look at this practically. I think I did my example in the key of E. Whoops, sorry. Maybe shouldn't have asked. So every every major scale, you could translate it into numbers. So Jason Ingram this afternoon, some of the charts that we're playing, they're numbers. They don't even have letter markings. It's just one, which is great, because then he's like, he just moves his capo around. Oh, let's try the key of B. Not too high for me. Let's try A flat, or whatever. And then it takes no work at all to just change in my mind. Okay, we're in A flat now, so that means 1 is A flat, 4 is D flat, 6 minor is F minor, and so on. So the number system is a great way to kind of think about music if you can learn it. So the one chord is built off of the first note in the major scale, 3rd and 5th. So we'll try and rip through this for those where this is just review for you, but at least one person kind of asking for it. So, the major scale that all of Western music basically is built on, Between the first and the second step, there's a whole step. Probably half a step, right? Whole steps. There's half steps between 3 and 4, and between 7 and 8. Oh, I should make that a color so that's clear next time. Anyway, so here we've got our E major scale, and so an E chord is going to be E, G sharp, and B. The 4 chord is going to be what in the key of E? A. It's going to be an A, and these are the notes number-wise, and these are the notes letter-wise. A chord, A, C sharp, an E, and so on. The 5th one is B chord, D, B, D sharp, F sharp, 6 minor. It's not a C sharp major chord, it's a C sharp minor. If this E was an F, it was a half step higher, then it would be a C sharp major chord, right? So, 2 minor, F sharp minor, right? So some basic theory. These are the keys that I find are most commonly used in worship. Yep. Because you're going to be around all these guitar players. And they don't know what to do in the key. You're like, how about the key of F? And they're like, what's that? It has a flat. My fingers can't do that. Now, the better that musicians are going to be able to play in, like, I don't think with Jason today we're doing any of these keys. I think maybe one in the key of C, but I think it's all A flat, E flat, B. It's like, but these, for your sort of, weekend warrior, average sort of worship musician person, what I try, for the last 12 years I've been a worship pastor, I aim for these keys because people can basically manage them. And so it's good to transpose. If something is in E flat, and you're like, I'm a keyboard player, I can handle E flat. The rest of the band, if you're a leader, that might help the rest of the band to pick like D or E, right? Because that's gonna help them. Those poor guitar players, until they go to school and learn how to play in other keys, become more advanced, superior musicians like you are, as keyboard and piano players. No offense, guitar players, but come on. All right, little tricks. Let's get into some voicings. I'm going to teach you my favorite voicing. This will work in any key, on any song. It is the universal best thing I've learned for voicing. How to arrange your fingers in a way that sounds cool. It's not complex at all. And it is the 5-1-5 voicing. So what I mean is your thumb is on the 5th note in whatever key you're in. Your index finger is on the 1, and your pinky is on the 5th. So you have octave 5s and index on 1. So let's pick a key D. Okay, we did D. Let's do this for the key of D. So for D, it's going to be, what's the 5th note in the D major scale? Anyone? A. We'll go low. And then the first note is D, and then the 5th note above it is A. So this will work for, now here's why I love this voicing. First of all, it just sounds good. It's kind of spread, and that sounds nice in the right hand. But it will work over all kinds of chords. So Remember, we have our 1, 4, our 5, our 6 minor. Those are the common ones. So in D, you're going to see a D. You're going to see a G. You're going to see an A. You're going to see a B minor, and you're going to see an E minor a ton, right? In the key of D. So this voicing, I'm not going to change my right hand at all. 5, 1, 5. A, D, A. Okay? Now I'm going to go to a G chord. My left hand is going to go to a G. Right hand didn't change at all. Now I'm going to go to a B minor. Right hand isn't having to change and do anything. Now you're like, boring. But here's the cool thing about it. You can, with simplicity like that, you can focus on the other things than inversions and what your fingers are supposed to do. You can focus on tone. You can focus on register. Oh, maybe I'll do it up here. You know? Oh, okay, now it's time to do it down here or whatever. And you can be like, oh, this is the guitar player is playing, so it's time to do some strings, you know? And the variation for so it works over the 1 chord, it works over the 4 chord, the 6 minor chord, and the 1/3. So that would be, you know, the fraction. Like this is sort of this, we call them slash chords, or they look like little fractions. What's that when we have a something over a something? What does that mean for piano players? Anybody know? Let's talk about this. So slash chords.
Slash chords are left hand.
If you were to see, we're in the key of D. So if you were to see a D and then a slash and then an F sharp, what would that mean for you?
Left hand's going to play the F sharp.
Yeah, so it's a D chord in the right hand and then a single note F sharp in the left hand, right? So that's 1/3. It's the 1 chord over the 3rd note in the bass note, right? Put it into numbers. So D over F sharp. So it works over 1, 1/3, 4, 6 minor. Because it's kind of borrowing some of the notes that are in that chord and some of the ones that are near it that make it cool, like minor 7ths and stuff. So for whatever reason, it's bomber. It works all the time. I use it constantly, and you will hear it constantly. Once you kind of start using it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I hear it on recordings, I hear it everywhere. It's a great, great little trick, the 5-on-5 trick. The modification for the 5 chord, if you do it with the 5 chord, it will suspend the 5 chord. Hear that suspension, right? And then here's the resolution. So the modification for the 5 chord is 5, 2, 5. So A, E, A in the key of D instead of A, D, A. Makes sense? So listen to it. So here's 1, here's 4, here's 6. And then when I go to 5, it's 5, 2, 5, A, E, A, and then back to A, D, A. Make sense? Raise your hand if you stayed with me on that whole thing. Okay, good. All right, I don't want to lose you. So that is a great little keyboard trick. Okay, 4/5 to 1. I used this morning. This is a great transitional trick. Your worship leader just finished a song in the key of A and needs to go to B flat. Oh no! How do we get there? Smoothly, while he's changing his capo and everybody's quiet and we don't want to have this awkward into the new key. Like, how do we do it? The best trick I've heard is this one. 4/5 leads to 1. So let's pick a key that we want to go to. Any key. Call it out. B. We hate ourselves today. And we want to go to the key of B.
Guitar player can't play anything else but B.
Right? The guitar player. These guitar players. But you know what? We are awesome and we can handle it, right? So we're going to go to the key of B. We're going to take one for the team in this inept guitar player, man. Totally. So if we want to go to the key of B, let's do a little musical math. What is the 4th note in the B major scale? E. So it would be an E chord is what this is. and then over the fifth note, which is what in a B major scale? F sharp. So we have an E over an F sharp, which sounds like that. You hear the tension? It wants to resolve somewhere, it wants to go somewhere. And then it resolves. To me, it's a little, I don't know, it's a little cooler than the, you know, the 5 chord doing an actual 7 chord. Like, I don't know, it's just a little more, oh. You know, when you kind of land it, right? So 4 over 5 to 1. And it doesn't matter where you came from. It matters where you're going to. So let's say we just finished up with the key of B. Now what's another key we're going to go to? A. All right. So that's what it sounds like. And resolve. There's other ways to get there, of course, but this is just one kind of cool way. So what chord? What did I play then to get to A? What was that?
You just resolved the down to A.
Yeah, so it's a what over a what? What was this? If we're going to A, it was a what over an A? It was a D over E. D over E, exactly. Right? So that's a great transitional kind of a trick for smoothly getting from one song to another. Tone-wise, that sort of string pad, I was using it a ton today. That's just a smooth glue, you know, between songs. That's not distracting. If you don't have that, if you only have piano, I would say whole notes for a long time, and then whole notes again for a long time. Because when the guy is talking, I mean, you tell me. And he's trying to tell you something, and he's really ministering, you know, and they're going to pray for the people that are like about to give up and everything, and it's a really like important ministry. Well, there's a lot of competition there.
Your ear's going to go to the most complex video.
And you're a keyboard player, so you're really going to hear it. But like people in the congregation, we got a whole lot of activity. As compared with, well, now we're going to have a ministry moment, people. And wasn't that cool, actually? Wasn't that neat? Like to, you know, lay hands on people and just pray over them. Some people that really, really needed that. That was super cool. See, that's way less distracting, right? You know, it's just kind of that. So if you're stuck on piano, you don't have a keyboard, you don't have some way to kind of pat. But again, the best is if you have something that's pretty chill. All right, we're going to pray. Lay hands on somebody and pray. You know, it's like, okay, I can do it. It's, you know, that's a really supportive moment, tone for that kind of a moment, right? So, all right. Sixths are, you know, like what key are we talking about? A. So like from an A to a C sharp. That's just, those notes were moving and they're a sixth apart. They just stayed a sixth apart. Raise your hand if you know what a sixth is. You tracking with me? Okay, good, theory-wise. So what I find is to lead from one moment to another. Again, we're going moment, transition, new moment. And to lead, to transition from one moment to another, what I find is really good is to connect those melodically somehow. So you don't just go, you don't, sort of in the key of A, you don't just go A, D. You could do that, but it sounds much better to go. Hear that? That was a little melodic line. So here's the A, and then there's that note is the F sharp in the D chord, right? It's in the over C sharp. Right? You're leading melodically into the next chord. So you have a chord, you set up a chord, and then you have some little melodic form that leads you to the next chord. Makes sense? And so moving sixths can be a really pretty way. That was kind of a moving sixth. Right? It can take you from one chord to another. It's a really pretty way to transition. And thirds are a cousin of, they're the inverted cousin of a sixth. Instead of playing it there, you play there. That's a third apart. But it's not, in some ways, I don't find as elegant. Right? The sixths just have a really elegant kind of a feel about them. So, all right. If you can only play one note, you're lost. Which never would happen to you. It would never happen to you. But it's happened to me. And you know the key that you're in, but not much else. The chart blew away. They have these big fans in the auditorium over there, and it was literally blowing our charts around. Before we're like, whoa, there it went. Unfortunately, these songs have 4 chord progressions that are very easy to memorize. But things can happen, and you're like, uh-oh. Here you are in the key of A, or they do another song that you don't have a chart for, and you're like, well, we're in the key of A. I'd like to make a contribution somehow. So what can we do in the key of A? You can hang out on the 5th note. And that 5th note, for whatever reason, it will just sail along. Who wants to demonstrate for me? We can actually demonstrate this on the piano. Who wants to go to the piano just real quick? And all I have to hit is one note. So it should not be hard. Do I have a great volunteer? Okay. All right, let's pick another key. We just revealed the key of A. So pick another key, any key. G? Did I hear G? Okay, so the 5th note. What's your name?
Emmett.
What is it?
Emmett.
Emmett. Okay. Emmett has no idea what I'm gonna sing right now, but he knows we're in the key of G. And so, Emmett, if you can just play did we already say what it is? It's a D, right? So if you just play a single D note. Hallelujah, we thank you, Lord. Oh, you're our Father. I'm just making up something, right? Oh, and if he plays a D, it's gonna work. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Okay, now on the piano. Thank you, Emmett. On a piano, of course, it's going to be a little silly to just keep tapping one same note over and over and over. But where it isn't silly at all is on this kind of a, then you go. Until you can get your bearings, you know what I'm saying? You can kill 30 seconds and sound like, oh, that's a cool dramatic effect or something. Yeah.
Would that also work if you hold it on a sustain if you're playing with an instrument?
Very good point, and absolutely. It is the veil 2 note that I teach all single note instruments. So the violin player is playing with us, the saxophone player, the flute player, the trumpet, whoever, and they just, poor saps, they only got 1 note at a time. They don't have 10 like we can. But anyway, God bless them. So they got 1 note, and a lot of those kinds of musicians, they're used to reading it and just here, let me spoon feed you your part off this sheet music. And you pull the sheet music where put a chord chart in front of a clarinet player, they're like, they didn't put that in front of me in junior high band. What's a chord chart, And plus I'm an E-flat instrument or whatever, and it's really throws them off. So all those kinds of instruments that are single note instruments, I tell them the 5th note in whatever, during the verse I'll often say, hey, don't play if you don't know what to do and just worship Jesus. That's fine. You don't have to play all through the song. But then if you want to come in at some spot, play the 5, man, if you're not sure what else to play.
But I mean also too, if you're yourself are playing another instrument,
So yeah, like what? Unpack that
For
scenario.
example, like if I were to play guitar for a part of the song, if I were to play like on the second guitar, or if I were to play my flute or something like that.
And then you like hit
Or
a note
second
and hold it.
keyboard, yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, it would work.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, it's a tone thing, and after a while, like if it's going on and on and on and on and on, then you might want to, you know, you got to kind of see how long. But it's certainly a good temporary solution to get you out of it. All right, worship expedition. I wonder why this slide is in here. I'm not sure. Oh, I guess we're at the end of my thing, and then we can dive into. I'm launching a new ministry, and that's what this is all about. Oh yeah. There are papers that Steve passed. That's kind of a survey. So we're launching this whole new thing that's like a training thing with online tutorial videos, and we're just filming a bunch of stuff, and we're creating resources to try and help churches and church worship teams and musicians do what you do better, and help your teams, the people that didn't come today, that really needed to be here but they didn't come. It's like, hey, you can watch some like drum videos about how to like practice with the metronome, or like whatever, you know. So there's a bunch of stuff like that we're developing. So I would love your input on that form of like, this is where we're hurting, man. This is where we're strong. I don't remember if I ask you like what's working or what's going good in your area, and then maybe circle like, dude, we need help here. That will help us in the aggregate kind of develop things that will be helpful church-wide. And then if you're interested in me coming or some of our team coming and actually hanging with your crew at a rehearsal and working with them, or you know, doing some stuff, I'd love to talk to you about that. You can check the little box, or you can check out the website. Again, all the notes from today are on the website, and you'll get a little sampling of some of the video stuff that we do there. Okay, so and then my contact info is there, probably on your sheet for those of you that have that, and you can find it easily on the website. All right, what do we want to dive more? Oh, we didn't talk gear really, did we? So for $40, how many of you have access to a Macintosh computer of some kind? iMac, MacBook, Mac Pro? Raise them high, you gotta really see how. Okay, so like half, maybe a little over half the room. Okay, for $40, you can buy a program called MainStage that comes with tons of pretty good sounds. This keyboard that I'm using right here is a controller. It has no sounds in it. It weighs like 2 pounds. This is a small one. There's bigger ones, and you can get like piano-weighted ones if you're into that sort of thing. This is just a simple sort of project studio, one that I use in the studio. I have used it live on occasion as well. It has no sounds in it, and it's just a USB out into the computer, and then all of the sounds are in the computer, and you're triggering them, you know, from this. And at MainStage, I was using it this morning. I'll use it again this afternoon, and you'll hear like some of what the sounds are like. And it's $40, man. And you can like, it has hundreds, and they're kind of a cut above, I think, what you would buy in any keyboard that you would buy. So there's the two worlds. You can go controller and virtual and software synth, or you can buy the Yamaha Motif, Korg Chrome, Triton, Roland, D, R, whatever. I am more and more becoming a fan of virtual instruments because they are killer. And I had a conversation with Jason Ingram yesterday about this. You'll want to write this down if you haven't heard of this before. Spectrasonics is the company. They're believers too, actually. The guy that founded it, Eric Persing, is a believer. Great guy in LA. Spectrasonics makes a product called Omnisphere. You heard of it? Anybody heard of it? It's an expensive virtual keyboard. It would be a plug-in that you buy, something that you buy for a computer that would work with a controller. You can't buy an Omnisphere keyboard. It's going to work with some kind of a controller. But Jason Ingram, who has produced top radio hits on the production side, he's also written a ton for artists all the songs that we'll do this afternoon, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know that song. Oh yeah, I know that song. Oh yeah, we do that song. He wrote all those, or co-wrote. He told me yesterday, I use Omnisphere every day in his production studio. And because we were talking gear, I said, what do you use, what do you like? And so Omnisphere, he says, is pretty much the professional standard. Any professional keyboard player is gonna have Omnisphere. Now it's a few $100, but if you can do it, or if you can make it happen somehow, Omnisphere is the ticket. That's the top of the line, I think. There's also a program called Contact with a K, like Germans, Contact. Contact, that has a lot of sounds in it. That's a virtual, keyboard, piano, lots of sounds in it. Main Stage is the sort of junior, option that still has a bunch of great sounds in it. Like, I couldn't get let's see if I can get them to talk to each other. I couldn't get the controller to talk to my computer, but let's see, maybe it's changed. Maybe it's gonna be happier. And I can show you some of the actual sounds with the Main Stage, so you can see it for yourself, hear it, Man, I'm new to the program literally this week. So anybody else know Main Stage, and if you know what I'm doing wrong, somehow I don't know. It talks to my other keyboard, but not this one, and I haven't. The other one was plug and play, and I thought this one would be too. Dang it. They're really, really good sounds. Oh man. Well, many of the sounds come from, Apple has a recording software called Logic. Anybody heard of Logic? It's like Apple's version of Pro Tools. I love it. I use Logic. I prefer Logic, personally. Not too shabby. You can put like delay on it. Let's see. Let's put it here. Man, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Killing me. Well, we won't mess with delay right now. The gospel, you heard that one? And you have the mod wheel option, to let the Leslie, if you've ever seen an original B3, it has the organ, then it has this box with this thing called a Leslie that spins. And so it's, the modulation wheel on this controller is mimicking that, there's like a pedal that goes with that speeds up and then slows down. And, that's when it slows all the way down, and then... So, anyway, there's some great, and all of these kinds of sounds would be shabby for coming out of a computer, So this is all the kind of stuff you'd get with. Good for an intro to a song, or something. So there's a lot of really cool software, virtual software options if you And they will work with your regular keyboard. Like I'm using my chord, you know, to talk to the computer, and I'm actually doing both. I'm layering in the sounds that are in the chord because it has some cool pad stuff, and the stuff from like the da 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 ba da da from This Amazing Grace. That was from the computer. Some of the pad stuff was like from the keyboard, so you can use both if you have a cool sounding keyboard. So does that get you started? Somebody that wanted some of the technical stuff.
How about through like your iPads and stuff, like some apps and stuff?
Yeah.
Well,
I wonder if MainStage will work on probably would work on an iPad too. Yeah, you know what? I saw Steve Padilla did a tutorial on. Yeah, I know iPad will work with MainStage. So it used to be bundled with Logic. You could only get MainStage with Logic, and it like reached in and used Logic sounds. And you had to pay hundreds of dollars. But now they split them apart, and you can just pay $40 and get all these great sounds. So yeah, super duper cool. There's a little bit of setup that goes with MainStage to get the controller talking to it, because the controller can do all kinds of stuff. You got to know how to do it. So okay, anything else? Any other little string we want to go down deeper that we didn't go? We have a couple minutes before we should probably transition to the next class. Yeah.
Just a quick question on recording.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you can record your entire spiel in one key and then transpose it to a different key when you're done, like a karaoke kind of thing?
Yes. Let's do that.
Don't transpose too far.
Do it right now.
Because I'm an alto, deep alto, so like where I would need to play it for it to sound, vocally where I'd want it to be is not necessarily congregationally where I would want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's so pick a song that's maybe like kind of well known.
Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me.
Okay, so so let's pick a piano patch here. So that's like 70-ish. 73 beats per minute, let's just say.
I think so.
Okay, so at 5, we gotta create a tempo. That's 70. Okay. We don't have time probably to really honestly do it. Logic will do it. Any digital audio workstation, Pro Tools, there's others, Neumann, Cubase. I would steer, you have a Mac. I would steer you towards Logic. It is incredibly powerful and will do probably way more than you need. But GarageBand would do it too. You can play.
You can do it in GarageBand?
Yeah, you can just play in whatever melody, and what it is doing, it's not recording audio, it's recording electronic impulses.
Okay.
And then you just hit a transpose button, whoop, and then it'll go up.
Okay, but I'm
and
talking
create
about
it down.
if you've laid track, like vocally.
Vocally, you'll need
vocals
Logic.
are in,
Vocally, you'll need
then
Logic.
can you take the whole thing, like I record it in D and I really want it to be in the key of F or whatever?
Logic will do it. You need Logic for that.
Just keep in mind when you do that, the vocals sometimes sound strange if you go more than one step.
The farther,
Sometimes a half
the
step.
farther you go from the original key, the more funky they'll
Yeah.
sound. And now there's a program called Melodyne, M-E-L, like melody, but with an N-E at the end of it. Melodyne. It is a transposing editor.
Okay.
It's sort of like Auto-Tune, but way better. And in Melodyne, you can move things crazy distances without a bunch of formats.
Melodyne?
Melodyne, yeah. They have various kind of levels of power in that program. But I think the Melodyne Studio gives you everything. But Melodyne, that's. But you know what? Logic is pretty smoking now. In its
What does
ability
that
to.
run?
What's that?
What does that run? What's the cost?
I think Logic is like 200 now. It's pretty. It used to be $1,000, and then it was like 500, and now it's like $200, and it can do way more than it could do when it was $1,000. So the tools that are get put in our hands now, I'm telling you, I'm not joking about ruling the world. You can. I should pull up the
Don't get him started.
just as Emily, come on up. I'm gonna play you. I'm gonna play you some stuff that was done on keyboard. Like I just did a recording thing, and it's tons of keyboard all through it. It's like 10 different keyboard parts. I'm gonna play it, but Emily has something to say before.
Okay. So we're going to the next workshops after this, and I assume some of you are keyboard players or piano players. So I wanted to let you know that the next piano workshops in here, the descriptions are actually switched in your program. So if you look, the next one is supposed to be expand your skills as a piano player, but it has the description of utilizing piano well in a band. So the next session we're going to be in here, I'll be teaching it. We're working on actual like, if you look at the next section, it has the description of what we're going to do. So if you look at like the utilizing your I forget what it's called, but it's something about utilizing in a band. It's with
Smart
Emily.
playing in a band?
Smart
Under
playing
session
in a
3?
band. That's what it's called. Session 3. That's the description of the next workshop in here, which is expand your skills as a piano player. So we'll be talking about voicings and color tones and kind of getting out of that like just regular block playing. We're gonna like try to expand that and talk about practicing like good practicing skills and what to do when you go practice to expand your voicings and things like that. And then the third session will be the smart playing in a band, which is how do you interact with the other instruments in the band, how can you fill in certain areas and not just get lost in the background. Make sense?
Yeah.
So I thought maybe some of you might be in those, so I wanted to give that announcement before you're done. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Everything is keyboard that you're hearing. I programmed all of that on this thing right here. There's all these different sounds going on. There's loops. There's bass. Did you hear the bass?
Yeah.
That's not a real dude. That's me going don't. Well, yeah, but it's, you know what I'm saying. So you can do so much with keyboard now. Okay, to get you out in time to get to your next thing or come talk to me or whatever, we're going to dismiss your white papers. If you can hand them to Steve, he's going to come around and pass them towards Steve. If you have, something. If you don't have it filled out and you want to hang on to it, hang on to it and give it. Come find me. I have a booth. Come find me at some point today and hand it to me. I would love to talk with you more about how to bless your team and help them be better and help move the whole thing to the next level. So come talk to me about anything you want to talk about up here. Class dismissed. Thank you.